Hello and welcome back to another episode of TELUS STORYHIVE On Location with Bowen and Mimi. We're in Revelstoke today with Amanda Cockburn, who is the Executive Director of the LFI Revelstoke, and she's going to let us know what LFI stands for. I believe that you also are working at the college.
Yep.
A mom and a gardener and...
Aspiring gardener.
Lots of things are going on with you, so I really appreciate your taking the time today.
Thanks for having me.
So please, if you could let us know, Local Food Initiative.
So Revelstoke Local Food Initiative. We're in our 10th year in Revelstoke, and we do a lot of things in Revelstoke around food security, education, community gardens, the farmers market, which is one of the top 5 markets in BC based on a study that was done several years ago. So we're super proud of that and the amount of people that it attracts every week. We support our local farmers through our food security contract that's funded through the city. We do commercial composting education. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm almost coming on 2 years of the executive director role. When I started, we only had, I think, one kind of continuing contractor, which was Isabel. And we've built this amazing team that's kind of stuck with us. So I think 80% of the roles have a returning person in it this year, which really means that we can grow a program instead of rehiring right now and retraining and then them kind of going through the ropes of learning. Isaac has started with us December 2023 in compost. So commercial compost that's through the CSRD. So that's out of Salmon Arm. They run our dump here and have just recently built a commercial composting facility. Right. So we've been contracted to do commercial composting education, go around to businesses, talk about what the program is, how they can kind of get on board with being more sustainable through composting. And eventually we are going to get into residential composting, but that's still down the road a little bit. Right. And then Isaac took on workshops last year. So doing our garden gurus. So it's teaching people about gardening, kitchen skills. So really we call it food literacy. So it's really learning about where your food comes from and how to feed yourself, be food secure, just have more autonomy on where you're choosing to get your food from. And this year he's also taken on gardens. So he's, again, kind of put all these jobs together for kind of this full-time role through the summer. So we have 5 community gardens. Some have 2 garden boxes, and we've just developed one that's 1/4 acre that has its first growing party tonight. So we have, kind of open call out to volunteers to come help garden and plant, and it's going to be co-op style, so people can participate volunteer time in exchange for food. So we're trying to build some different models around our gardens this year so that there's no barriers to entry, just being more inclusive and accessible for people.
Food literacy you mentioned. I'm just thinking about youth programs. That ties into that. So I want to say last year we worked with probably around 300 kids, local kids. So it starts at 3 to 5 year olds. It's our little sprouts. So our coordinator goes into, I know, isn't it adorable? So she goes, I think she went into 7 or 8 preschools. I mean, we even had daycares kind of approaching us. So they just get their hands dirty. So they plant seeds, there's a grow light, they get to watch the seeds grow. And then our downtown community garden that most people would walk by, so it's really cool that people get to see what's happening. They then go and they plant the seeds that they grew. And then that food all went to the food bank last year. So it's kind of this really cool cyclical where they got to take the seeds, grow them, plant them, kind of come back and see what was growing. And then we can let them know kind of how much went to the food bank. Yeah, it's really cool. So that's with the little kids and then there are other programs up through the different ages?
So grade 5, grade 9, grade 12 is what we kind of touch on now. So there's a foods classes in high school. So we kind of work in conjunction with that teacher. And we've done farm tours. We bring them to some of the organizations in town doing food skills. And then we had youth camp. So last year we had 45 kids. It's our 3rd year. And this year we're going to have like 90. It's actually incredible. We're super excited for camp this year with just that many kids coming out and doing gardening, food skills, foraging, and just really making it fun for them to engage with food, where it comes from and how to prepare it at home, and just building a better connection with food.
It's exciting to hear that there's such an interest.
So many kids.
And
And so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, like food security. Do you want to say a few words about that? In these times, global warming, coming out of the pandemic a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Sounds like there's momentum and a lot of interest, so people are taking it seriously, especially in Revelstoke, being a, it's hemmed in by the mountains. It's a little bit cut off.
Yeah, we don't have multiple roads in, and it's known that every year something happens with, some kind of weather incident with fire, snow, accidents. You just never know, might shut it down for days at a time, rock slides. There's a lot that could happen with that access to food coming in and out. So food security is really just, is there enough food kind of in your local area to feed the population? Our food security strategy 2022, I believe, said we have under 2% of kind of the population we would be able to feed with kind of the resources we have. So that's where teaching more people to garden and use their space comes from. So we have the food security coordinator role at the LFI now. So she started last September. So really just pulling all the food actors together, listening, can we help in some way with education, advocacy, connecting people, just to help be more food secure and produce more. And there's 5 goals, and we've added a 6th one this year, which is emergency preparedness. So
okay, because I had 5 down here: access to food, support and promote economical sustainability, food culture, environmental sustainability around food production, and education. So now we've added a 6th. Good.
Emergency preparedness. So from our point of view, from food security, and if there was some kind of incident, it's, what do you need to, if you have the means and capacity, so that means that the people that don't can access the food at the store and the food bank, so it's not just everyone rushing. It's taking that time to say, if I have the means to do it, I should have, maybe it's a week of food at home if we were shelter in place. Or what does it mean if I have to flee and let's throw water in there too, right? So what do you need to do if, you need to drink water and feed yourself on the road? And then we're even taking a few steps lower with the tourism industry. So hopefully we can start to work with hotels, for your guests there, so that they're not also rushing to the grocery store and kind of emptying the shelves. So it's trying to mitigate that kind of that we saw in COVID, and we all have that point of reference now of what happened.
Very relatable.
Let's mitigate that.
Exactly.
Because there are people that will need to go, so whether it's, financial means, physical means, just...
I'm thinking of seniors, residents as well.
Let's make it so that it's not a stressful or less stressful situation. Last year, Revelstoke was one of the points for Jasper. So people that had to evacuate Jasper, we were one of the points where people could come. So we actually had to activate our emergency plan, which is, it was a really great practice. Some of the actors in town and people in positions are now prepared to have these conversations and have some hey, we learned from last summer. So it's put us in a good position as we start to develop this, that there's other people in town who are okay, once you have this, we can be the point of communicating it to XYZ group.
Yes.
So while that was devastating, it allowed us to kind of learn from it also, from having to be that point of contact for Jasper.
Yeah. Do you want to share any stories from that time? Did you host anybody?
I know I didn't know. No, but I know, so at our community center, we had to activate that emergency shelter area. Did
everyone come together as a community to support those?
Yeah, they really did. Yeah, and I think people did what they could. But it was,
We're
I think...
in Vernon, and we also had... people from Jasper arriving there as well.
Yeah, and you saw people, obviously couldn't go back to Jasper, so you saw people trying to move here and people opening their homes and opening their properties if someone was in a trailer, Revelstoke is truly a community, and I've seen that coming from the city. I moved from Ottawa a couple years ago, where you had communities here and there, but it's at a bit of a deeper level here where you really see that community care, which I've really appreciated.
The idea of local versus uber local.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little?
Yeah. Again, coming from the city, like even at the farmers markets, you're not necessarily quite sure where it comes from. There's different standards across every province of what local means. But in our food security strategy, we have that uber local, and then regional. So local, I believe, is within 15 kilometers. It's quite close. And then uber local would be kind of that CSRD, so kind of pulling in shoe swap area. And then regional would be the Okanagan. Yeah, so we do have some people that come in with the fruit, and different food production, sauces and stuff do come in. Yeah.
How does LFI support farmers?
I mean,
there's the market.
Yeah. So
yeah, I guess I'm just thinking, is there a program that you're connecting farmers with production, with producers, with stores, with outside of the farmers markets?
Well, I mean, the farmers market is a great place to promote your foods, and you never know who's going to come in. I always said that I did markets in Ottawa, and even on the slowest markets, you don't know who's going to come in. Like you've heard of on some days where they thought they'd have a bad day, and a store owner would walk in, and all of a sudden you have a wholesale order. You know, so I think if you're prepared for those connections at the markets, always be ready for that kind of thing. Through our food security, we do a farmers network that meets twice a year, I believe. So it's really just pulling together all the farmers and food producers, and we even opened it up to aspiring farmers for this past one, because we know there's people in town looking for land, you know, and we know that there's some of the farmers were them 5 years ago, so that they can learn from that process as well. So we just held that a couple months ago. I want to say there was 20 people, kind of farmers and whatnot, with our food security coordinator, and just had conversations about what are you facing right now? What can we help with? What's working? Again, what do we need to know about the market to help make it more successful for you? And we do whatever we can to kind of support getting food from the farm to the food bank. A lot of them do the food diversion to the food banks. We try to support that way. Yeah.
As the executive director, what are your roles? What are you doing how are you involved in all of these different aspects?
Oh my gosh. So I oversee all the coordinators. So I think this summer we'll have 10 coordinators. So that's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's grown a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
And I really try to stay connected with just all of the players in town. So really trying to build our connection with economic development and tourism. I definitely think we're going into a bit of a agritourism area with how popular the market is, farm tours. You know, we don't have 10 of everything, but like, you know, our breweries, like producers, they're doing it at a very high level, you know, and what you would see in the cities. So we do, and roasters, like the coffee roasters. So I think there is a story to tell of how that food tells that sense of place, and I think we have that here.
You've shared so much that's on my list of questions. Is there something you wanted to highlight before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I think for us it's really about getting people to slow down and connect with food. I think busy lives, we just have kind of lost touch with that, and you know, everything's so fast and we can get whatever we want when we want. And it's really just slowing down and learning some new skills and connecting with food and how it brings people together and how it can nourish you and just be a really big part of your story. Yeah.
Volunteerism?
Volunteerism, yeah. So we're really trying to bolster that this year. So that's that whole co-op garden too. And it's, you know, just doing things in community. And really trying to connect the importance of coming to volunteer and what it gives back. So whether you're volunteering and the food's growing to go to the food bank, or you're volunteering at Garlic Fest, and that's a fundraising event to pay for our contractors to do the work that they do. But then also, if we have this great volunteer list, if other events need volunteers, we can, share that as well. Yeah.
Thank you for being such a great community builder.
Thanks.
And making time for us today.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
To talk about the local food initiative in Revelstoke.
Yeah.
And we'll see everybody again. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you for coming. Bye.